going to be smart and correct. And I'm just this person here who's curious. I'm actually the person clicking on the video. And I want to know these different things.
I wish most people were as smart and curious as you. Wouldn't you love it for her to be like talking to her your whole life?
Yeah.
Can I do one other thing?
I'd like to have a soundtrack.
Can we move over and then you just turn and face Herbie a little bit more?
We can do whatever you want.
Thank you.
See, now it was a good thing that the
Yes.
the
cleaning truck
yeah,
came by.
Exactly, because I was starting to go, hey. And one last thing.
She's sounding now.
Roll.
Okay. Okay, so Jennifer, what is the name of your business?
K-9ky Search and Reunite Services.
And what does that stand for?
We are a search and rescue team, and we find missing persons. We use scent-specific dogs to, hang on a second, I gotta start over again, man.
That's okay.
This is gonna take me just 1 second.
No problem.
Okay.
Wait a second, wait a second.
I'll just get into it.
And go.
K-9ky Search and Reunite Services. We use scent-specific search dogs to find missing persons, and our goal is to effect justice for the victims and their families.
So what does scent specific mean?
These dogs are trained to find a specific person, meaning that if you get lost, they will find you and ignore every other person. So what they need is they need your scent. Every person has a different scent.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs' ability to scent is incredible. It's a trillion times more than ours. It's a number that's so big, it's hard to describe or for us to comprehend. And so we can have them scent off of a piece of hair. They could find you. We've had them do it off a piece of gum that's spit out, a handprint on a window. We train them to scent off of the smallest things so that in a situation where someone does get lost, we can use whatever is available to take the scent and then search for them.
And time is very important when someone is lost. How do Remy and Scout assist in that or diminish the time issue?
Well, using the search dogs we're the search dog team for the Jefferson County Public Schools, and they have us so that we can respond quickly when a child goes missing. We have a half-an-hour response time. The neat thing about having search dogs is that it reduces the amount of time between when someone is lost and when they're found. Typically, if you have like fingerprints or something, that helps you at the beginning and the end, but not finding them. The search dogs reduce the amount of time it takes to find somebody. So, for example, with a child or an elderly person, it is time is crucial because they are at high risk. For example, with the environmental factors, elderly people, the heat, the cold, and so an hour can make a difference. And the statistics of children when they get lost, the 2-hour time frame is really, really important. So the faster and the sooner that a dog gets deployed, the better chances for success.
So with your dogs, well, let's demystify some things. Dogs aren't automatically called out in a missing person situation. If I call the police and say, my child is missing, dogs don't automatically get called out.
That's exactly correct. And that's one of the biggest things that we've found. People think that when they call the police and their child's missing that a dog is going to be called out, and that's not the case. Police have excellent dogs. But they have drug dogs, they have patrol dogs. They're trained for different things. You can train dogs for all different sorts of things. Search dogs, scent-specific search dogs like Remy and Scout, they're trained to find a missing person. And police don't have those, so they have to use someone like us to go find you. So what's important for families to know is that resource is there. And we will respond to families. We work with the police, but families can call us directly because again, that time factor is so important in finding, someone that's lost. And if you've ever lost, I don't know if you've ever, if someone has a child and you've just lost them for like 10 seconds, it feels like forever in that panic. And there is actually something that you can do. And during that time, when a family member goes missing, you are panicking, and the family, does not know what to do. So we really need to have the resource available to educate people so they know, oh, okay, we can call K-9 and they can come out and look for our child or look for our parent or look for, my husband who went hiking and so that they know that that can happen immediately.
And so, like in the case of if somebody has you on, I guess I would
Sit.
say retainer. I don't know what that you call it, but
Sit.
But if somebody has K-9,
Write it down.
Come on over here. Yeah. You could. JCPS, for instance, they call you. What happens? Your response time.
Right. JCPS will call me, and I just have to say they're fantastic, because after the Ivan Cano case with the little 4-year-old boy, that horrible case here in Louisville where he was killed, they did not want that to happen in their school system. We got over 100,000 kids, so we're on call. So if a child goes missing, which happens more than you would think, we have to respond within a half an hour. So they call us, and I kind of feel like, and we are not a law enforcement agency, but it makes me kind of feel like a little fireman, because we have to respond within 30 minutes. And what they do is they call, as soon as they hear, they say, Jennifer, we've got someone, we may need to call you out. And so then I need to immediately get prepared to get the dogs going. And so they give me that heads up, because you want to get there again as fast as possible.
It's important for like that. There's a lot of children there, so you would have to. There would have to be some scent from that child that the dogs can work with, right?
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we work with the school security officers, and we train them. If a child goes missing, we don't want the staff to touch their things, because you have to have a good scent article. 2 things for dogs to find a person successfully. We need to know where the person was last seen. It's called a point last seen, okay? Because that's the area where the dog has to search from. Dogs can scent in time, meaning that they can tell what your freshest scent is. So if a child is running around, say a playground, and has been there, for a half an hour and then leaves, it's like, well, how's the dog going to know which way to go? Somehow the dogs know which scent is the freshest, and we train them on that. And so that they will go around and say, okay, the last place this child went was this way, and they give you direction of travel. So you need to know where they were, and then you need their specific scent. And that way you can find them. And it's really important in their urban environment, because there are people everywhere, obviously.
Sure.
And if someone gets abducted, or if a kid is hiding, or it might be, and there are situations where the perpetrator will walk back towards you, or they'll hide amongst a group of people. When the new superintendent of schools came, we went to find her, and
As a test?
As a test, just they wanted to see what the dogs could do, and she went into a gymnasium to talk to, I think about 60 people, and so we took some scent from her, I think just a gauze pad, and she was like, I want to see this, and so I think it was Remy went into the gymnasium, and there were 60 people, and she went right to the superintendent and went down at her feet. It was really cool.
So let's tell me that story again a little more concisely. All right, so as an example, you showed JCPS what with whom?
When the new superintendent, Dr. Hargens, came last September, the security, JCPS security is really proud of this program, and they wanted to show her what we could do, and they wanted to show parents that this is something that we have available, that our dogs can find people. So we wherever Dr. Hargens was going that first week, we just went there, and she said she would like to do it. So she got out of her car. I said, could we take your scent? She goes, sure. And she met the dogs and was really excited about it. And she was very, very, very lovely. And so we took the scent, and then she went in to do whatever she was going to do. And then I waited probably about an hour, actually. And then I gave Remy the scent, and she had to go into a building, which is, you go from inside to outside. There's all sorts of different conditions which make it hard for a dog. She had to hit on a couple of doors, ran down a hallway, went into a gym, and a gym's huge, especially for scent. I mean, obviously everyone knows what a gym is, but I mean, for scent, it's everywhere. And Remy ran in, and Dr. Hargens was standing amongst, all the teachers that were, meeting her and greeting her, and Remy went right up to her, tagged her with her feet. That's her indication. She tapped her with her feet and went down. And it was very funny, because Dr. Hargens is like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, because it was great. It was just a perfect, it was a perfect example of what they do.
Right. So JCPS understands the importance of what your
Yes.
team does.
Yes, they do.
And what other applications do you see for who else could benefit from, I mean, obviously the individual family, but like what other kinds of agencies?
Obviously, anybody who gets lost can benefit this, but in terms of agencies, the agencies that have high-risk populations could benefit from this greatly, and in fact are very excited about this service, which they're just learning about, because this is a unique service that people really haven't, you know, heard about before. And when I go to meet with these places, they're like, oh, we absolutely need this, and that would be places that take care of children, that take care of the elderly, independent living, you know, rest homes, nursing homes, and not nursing homes.
Assisted living.
Yeah, assisted living. I'm trying to think of what like, you know, I could tell you some specific ones, but you know.
Yeah. Give me an exact. Yeah, give us a few that are using your service now.
Well, we're just starting this out. So we've got the Home of the Innocents, and I guess basically these people are signing up for the service now, so I don't know how you want to do that, Kirby. But
yeah.
So we've got the Home of the Innocents, you have St. Joe's, we have Boys and Girls Haven, institutions like that. We have other schools that are interested, like the DePaul School. Parents, children with autism, they are at really high risk of getting lost. That's one of the things that they do. So those are the type of people that really want to use our services. And I've had parents actually come up to me and ask me, could we please put you on retainer, because we want to make sure that we can call you. I'm worried about my son Josh, and I really want you guys to be available. And it really helps them with peace of mind, and they also know what to do if Josh gets lost.
So, how does an agency or an individual family pay for something like this? How do you?
We are a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we will search for any victim. Obviously, we want to help anybody. We operate on the generosity of individual donors, grants, and that is part of what we're trying to do as an organization. Is we want to be one of the top organizations in Louisville, nonprofit organizations, and as a community, we think this makes it a safer community, and I think it's a real benefit for the businesses that are here in terms of saying, you know, look, if you come here, your child and your family is going to be safe, and that's something that we can provide for you.
So tell me about, oh shoot, wait a minute, what was I just thinking?
She's good at this.
She is.
I'm not.
You know, oh my gosh, I just lost whatever it was. But training the dogs. You are an attorney.
Yes, yes.
And do you even practice law anymore?
Barely.
Barely, because it takes so much.
It's a full-time job, and as the organization's growing, it basically training the dogs, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scene, behind the scenes.
Tell me that again. So there's, tell me about the training of the dogs.
Okay. The dogs, training is a large part of what we do. To get the dogs to actually perform and find that person takes a lot of work. And I kind of view the dogs like little Olympic athletes. If you've seen them, because we have to train them all the time. What they do is they're finding scent of a particular person on a particular day in particular weather conditions, and every single condition is different. So every single time we go out and train is a different experience, which is one of the reasons why I love it, because you're just learning something every single time. And we will train them 3 to 4 times a week, and that is so that they become used to different situations, so when I get out into a real situation, I can say, oh, okay, we've had this situation before, like for example, scent collects on glass. So I know that when my dogs are in an urban area and they're going up along the glass, I know that, okay, the scent collects there, so I understand what's going on. My job as a trainer, the dogs have the nose, and they are following the scent. They don't follow the person, they follow the scent. That's really important to know, because if you walk straight down here, the wind might blow the scent, 20 yards to the side. The dog's going to follow the scent, and my job is to understand, okay, what is happening here? Let me help the dogs out. They might get caught in a scent pool. Scent might just get caught in a lower area. And so we are a team. We have to train. With the search dogs, you have to train with that dog from when the dog is a puppy. And it is a team effort. You have the dog, you have the handler, and then you have what we call the flanker, the person that is assisting in terms of safety with the radio communication, you know, the safety equipment, and making sure that we don't get hit by cars, or, you know, if we're going down a hill, and there's just all sorts of safety issues. But it is a team effort, and that's one of the things that is so much investment and time and into those particular animals, because Remy can only work with me, Scout can only work with me. And so, and I can't work another dog, because you really have to know that dog. And so there's a lot of time that goes into building the teams. And so that, and people don't realize that. They think, I think some people think we just come out and kind of like show up and get the dog out of the truck and say, go smell and find the, but you know, we have to work constantly to make sure that we are the best that we can be, and be prepared so that when we are called out, that we can give 100% and the families know that they have the best services available.
So tell us how COSAIR Charities has been helpful, beneficial.
COSAIR's Charities has been wonderful. As they've gotten to know our services, they have been huge supporters of us. What we have found is when we've gone out in the community, we realize that COSAIR Charities is involved everywhere, and so it became a natural, we need to talk with COSAIR Charities, because they are so vital to all of the children's organizations and agencies that we come in contact with providing our services. And so that is how we've gotten involved with them, and they are introducing us to these organizations to help them with safety.
Very good. All right, so what about donors and grants and things like that? How can the community be more beneficial to you?
We need, we would benefit greatly, scratch that.
Okay.
Sorry. This is,
Doing great. This
Yeah.
is really looking good.
yeah, listen to him, he's like, put on the, she's doing okay.
No, she's doing great.
You're doing great. You are. And I'm listening all the time. I'm having you do it over if I need you to. So
Okay.
you know you're doing well. So yeah, I mean, how can I let's pretend like this. How can I help you do your job?
We need the community's support. For us to be there for the community, we need the community's support so that we can provide the service. We need individual donors. We need sponsorships from companies. We need grants. We are a nonprofit, and we depend completely on this community to provide the community with this service. And that is one of the things, because we're a different service than people are used to, we have to educate people as to what the dogs can do. And once they realize it, they're like, oh man, I mean, you know, you've run into a parent like, I would pay you to, you know, to find my child. Of course, most people, you hope to God you never lose your child, and that's the whole point of having these dogs, is that that terrible thing does not happen to you. But to have that service ready and available, we need the support of the community to have it there. They love it when they see it, but to have it there, it's you know, it's like we are like an emergency. Well, actually, for example, insurance. We have a very high, I don't think they're going to be interested in this, but we have a very high insurance because we're considered, it's a dangerous duty. And so we're considered like first responders. So we have the insurance level of a fire department in terms of, because of what we do is so dangerous, but we don't get, we're not a law enforcement agency, so we have to provide all of that ourselves.
All right, that's good.
If I could add something, I would really like to hear how many cities don't have this. You know, we are lucky to have, I would like to hear that. Now, maybe on the video that you're going to email to different agencies. And also I want to have one question on that email, on that video we're going to email. Okay, say you take me on a sponsorship, this is what you get. You get us, blah, 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 and you can, I go out and train, I go out and say, okay, everybody gets a scent marker, put it in your freezer of everybody, I go out, you know, that kind of thing. That is for that specific tape. I know I didn't talk to you about that, but we're doing like 3 different things here. But I really like that idea of you being, we're lucky here in Louisville to have these 2 amazing animals.
Olympic athletes. Okay, we got it. Olympic athletes. All right, so is K-9 unique? Is Louisville special?
K-9ky is unique in the service that we're providing. There are wonderful search dogs across the country, and in fact, one of the things about training that we've talked about earlier is that it's training. You have to train with the very best trainers. It's like an apprenticeship, like it used to be when you were a lawyer. It mattered who you clerked for. In the search and rescue world, it matters what trainers you work. So we have gone and trained with trainers in Virginia, in Arkansas, in Illinois, and Missouri. So there are excellent dogs out there, but typically those dogs just serve, I don't know how to say this, let me back it out.
Well, but here's the thing. I'm not going to call a search team from Illinois to come and look for my child and have that 2-hour window of opportunity.
Well, the other thing is that we're providing, K-9ky is as far as I know, is the first organization in the country that is set up as a nonprofit to actually provide the services directly to agencies, directly to families, and to law enforcement, and to be there on call 24/7 and as a nonprofit so that we can respond immediately. And that's what we do full time.
Wow. So that is unique.
Yes, and there is no other team in and around Louisville that does scent specific searching. There are other kinds of searching that's done, but in terms of scent specific, which is very important for urban environments, like we just said, because you need to pick one person out amongst many. That is really crucial. And the other thing that the dogs, I mean, any dogs that are trained like this are limited only by their, in my opinion, only by their handler. So, it's constantly the handler learning how to work with the dog. So one of the things that these dogs can do is they can car trail. So if a child or a person gets taken away in a car, or say a Alzheimer's person drives off, the dog can follow the car trail. It's really, really cool, and you have to see it. But the scent comes out of your vehicle, and so they can actually follow it. And the first time I did this for JCPS, it was very, very cool, and it's actually helped us in a couple of abduction cases, and we've actually done a trail out in eastern Kentucky where we did like 16 miles following a car.
Wow.
Not walking the entire way, but
but the dogs can trail somebody that's been taken in a car, or
the dogs can trail someone that's taken in the car. The dogs can trail when it's raining. The dogs can trail on scent. People, this is the big misconception people have. They're like, if the scent is more than like a day old or 2 hours old, well, it's too old. It's not true. We train our dogs. We train our dogs on scent that's a year old. But really, I mean, the older the scent, the less ideal it is. But on real cases, we can train. We've gone out on cases a month old, 2 months old, a week old. The scent stays there. It's a matter of what are the conditions like. And so actually rain actually helps scent, which people don't realize. So the scent is something that is there, and people don't understand that. So it's like, well, we can't call a search dog because the person was lost last week. Well, that's not true. And unfortunately, search dogs are often the last ones that are called to a scene. It's kind of like when it becomes a real, oh, well, we can't find the child or we can't find the person, and so we've got the firefighter, we can't find them, so we better call the search dogs in. And ideally, these search dogs are the first things that you call in, so you don't have to use all the resources, all the human, all the man hours, and because they can do it, they can cover a lot more area and they can do it much more effectively. And that's one of the things that we've seen is just one of the most frustrating things is how underutilized these talented dogs and other are not used. They're just not used enough because people don't understand how they work.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how they work. So if I'm the visually impaired preschool, for instance, and I want to sign on, and hopefully I've got some nice donors that are going to also donate to offset some of the costs. What is it that you provide for me?
As an agency, if you're VIPs.
Let's not mention them specifically.
Just say as an agency. Yeah.
My bad.
No problem.
Strike that is what we'd say.
Yeah.
As an agency, if you retain our services, what we provide for you is we provide, first of all, training. We let your staff know what the dogs can do, how they can find someone a client or patient that goes missing from your facility. We are on call 24/7, so you can call us immediately. I know that some agencies struggle with should they call the police or not, and that's one of the things. You can call us immediately, and we can be ready to deploy. And if the patient is found, you know, great. If the patient's not, before we get there, that's great. But if the patient's not found, we are ready to go and that person's safe. So I mean, in terms of for the agency, it increases. It's a great, well, risk management and safety factor. The other thing is that we get to know the staff and we get to know the grounds. So I'll take the dogs and get them familiar with the area, and that's very important because that helps the dogs and it helps me knowing what the area is. So they know what to expect. We can also have them collect scent articles and have those ready for us, so that a scent article from each person. We have a scent for safety program where you collect scent articles, and as an agency, that's just a wonderful safety mechanism, because you call me, I get there, you give it to me. At an institution, you might have, for example, a lot of people with crossover scent, and it can be difficult. And so you want to make it you want the dog to be as successful as possible, and you want to do everything you can to make it as easy as possible for the dog to be successful. And so a scent kit is a great way to do that. And so and if you can't do that, then we teach the agencies how to collect scent, or how to. She's playing with the fish. If you want to film that, man, it's so funny. Oh, she's not playing with them yet. I was hoping she'd play with the fish when you were here, because it's just hysterical. She gets in there and she's gone.
She's out. Okay, so you're available 24/7.
Yeah.
You teach.
Oh, and we try, like, our response time, you know, is a half hour with JCPS, and depending on where you're located, you know, our response time, we will tell you what our response time can be. We also respond across the state. We also have the ability, if we need to fly. We've got a volunteer who will fly us in a little 4-seater plane if we needed to do that. So we view ourselves as a state available for the state.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of, and then there's an education factor of smaller sheriff's office or police departments, and they often will call dogs. They will often know how to use dogs very well because they realize their importance.
Yeah, and so people should not be lulled into a sense of security that law enforcement is going to have dogs that can track scent the way that you do.
Correct. I don't know. I'm sure there are, but I don't know any law enforcement agencies. The law enforcement agencies around here don't have search dogs. They will call us if they need a search dog. It's a matter of, and it's not that the police are doing anything wrong. They have, you know, resources. They're allocating their resources, and they want to use our resources. So if they want, you know, for that resource to be there, we have to be able to get the funding from, you know, donors, nonprofits, grants.
So tell me this: when the police have called you, it's often not within that 2-hour range. It's down the line. I think people need to know that too. That you're not going to get the immediate. You know, don't assume the police are going to call K-9 K-9 immediately.
Right. That very rarely happens. In fact, that's why this is so important, because the police have protocol that they follow, and the dogs are not called initially. Whether it's, you know, these dogs are. Anyway, they just don't use the dog.
You want to do that again?
Yeah, I do. I got to be careful. I don't want to slam the police, because they do a good job.
Well, maybe that's a soundbite that we can't really use.
Well, what I want to, we can try it though, because what I do want to say is that the police, if you call the police, they don't have search dogs. So if you want to know that a search dog is being called, you can call K-9 K-9 directly. We work with the police, but there's nothing, you don't have to wait. There's nothing that says, oh, I have to wait for this whole process to go through. You know your family, and you'll know if something's wrong in your particular case. I've had several cases where the family knew that there was something wrong. but they couldn't get a response for about a week. And that's just, you know, and they've got a, you know, from the law enforcement perspective, they've got a huge volume. And so, but as families, you will know when something is really wrong, oftentimes. And that's, you know, and you do have resources out there. You have K-9ky out there. We can come out and help you. And we have been in cases where we've come out and help, and then the police come out. And then that's really, really helpful to the family.
So you've been on cases that have had, you've been on lots of cases.
Yes.
You've had good outcomes.
Yes.
I mean, in all, it sounds like in all the cases, the dogs have found what they were looking for. And it's not always a live victim,
Right.
but
in the live cases, that we do 3 different things. The dogs are scent specific, and so they find missing persons. We also find what we call forensic evidence, or to put it another way, if you lose something, we can take your scent and they'll find it. So if you lose your phone and it's out in the middle of a field that's got a lot of, let's say after thunder, if you lose your phone, the dogs could go out and find your phone and ignore all the other trash that's on the ground because they're scent specific. So that's what we call forensic evidence. And then these dogs are also trained in cadaver to find human remains. So they've got 3 different things that they can do. We are typically on a live search called out, and on those searches, we have had where we've actually found them alive, and it's been absolutely wonderful. We've had cases where we've gotten the direction of travel, like for example in an abduction case, which has helped locate the person, because it's a big deal to narrow down where this person has gone. There have been also have been cases where the person is no longer alive, and in all of those cases, and this was the most profound thing to me when I first started this. One of the first cases I did, this young woman, she went missing, and she had a history of drug abuse, and we were eventually called in to look, and she was found. The dogs gave direction of travel, and they found her and her family, and she was dead and had been dead for a while, and her family was so grateful to me and to us. It overwhelmed me, because they're thanking me for finding their dead child, and they still keep in touch with me, and as do other families. And it just really puts in perspective what we do and why we're doing it, because we're called Kentucky Canine Search and Reunite Services. We're reunification. So the goal is to get the family back with their family member, whether the family member is alive or dead. And I can tell you, if you're missing a child or you're missing someone, you want that person back for closure, and for psychological reasons that are more complex than I can understand, except you just know the human experience. I have seen the dog. The really neat thing about Remy and Scout, they are Parson Russell Terriers. They are, as far as I know, they're the only ones in the United States that do scent-specific trailing, and they use them a lot in Europe. And in fact, we have to get we have safety vests for them when they're in the city, and we have little harnesses for them that they wear. And we have to get those from England, because they don't make them small over here in the United States. When I ordered the first one, it was like a really small vest, and the buckle was about as big as the vest was. So the neat thing about them is that we go into a scene that it helps families to actually, the dogs help the family, because it will be like, Remy, if you find my son, and they'll say, how's Remy doing? And it really helps them focus. I've had families get very attached to the dogs and really appreciate the effort, because the dogs put themselves in a lot of danger. Like I said, this is a high-risk thing that we do, and I didn't really appreciate that till I started this. I mean, cars don't slow down. I mean, it's very, very dangerous. We go in all sorts of, then there's issues of going in places where there might be meth labs, or there might be people, with guns. I remember I was on this one search, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and the state trooper got out with me, and And then he got out this big rifle, and I was like, what's that for, bear? And he's like, no, just in case there might be anybody growing stuff back here.
Yeah.
And so it's you know, you're in places that you normally, you know, wouldn't be. And so the dogs, these guys are small, and obviously, you usually think of bloodhounds, and we are actually members of the Kentucky Bloodhound Search and Rescue Association. We're the only non-bloodhounds, but we do the, you know, that's a great group, and we do the same things. We work with them as we're part of their team. But people are surprised when they see these dogs show up. We actually got called to Joplin, Missouri, after the F5 tornado hit it last year, where there was 163 folks that died. And we were called to go there because the team knew us and had worked with us. And so I took one dog, I took Scout, and it was the most, it was just an incredible experience of, it was overwhelmingly sad, but it was a reaffirmation of human dignity and hope. But what was interesting for us is that Scout was called to go to all the hot spots where they thought there were actually, where they thought it was most likely that there were people trapped or there were people that had perished. And the reason they wanted Scout, part of the reason was because she's small and she could get into the areas. And she's also, because she's a terrier, she loves to work. I mean, these terriers just love to work. And so for 4 days, she didn't stop. And they were like, you know, you keep going to the command center and they'd be like, that dog's never going to quit.
So Joplin, Missouri, and you've worked on a number of other cases that we may have seen in the news.
Yes.